Okay, so as an artist, as a transgender artist, I find myself easy to find inspiration, but hard to maintain it. And so I suppose this video and my entire channel is sort of an exercise in um, finding other artists and just general people who inspire me in all walks of life. Um, Lately, I've been dealing with a lot of depression and thoughts of inadequacy in the face of automation, of artificial intelligence, as you all know and have no doubt seen before. To me, artificial intelligence is a lot like the sweatshop. The sweatshop is a method of production under capitalism that, yes, produces cheaply available goods that people may have not been able to afford otherwise. However, it is always at the expense of human effort, if not human life itself. The capitalist loves the idea of the sweatshop. The capitalist loves the idea of artificial intelligence. The artist, on the other hand, seeks something different. To me, art is the expression of the human experience in its most honest form. Here's a video excerpt from Lily Alexander on the meaning of art historically to minorities in particular.
Ferry says that instead of handing knowledge down from above, we should trust people to produce knowledge about their experiences. He says this process makes us feel more fully human and empowers us to actively participate in the world. Art is so good at this, it's not even funny. A unique point of view is like one of the most exciting things art can have. It's what separates forgettable schlock from classics. An artwork has so many tools at its disposal to spark curiosity and empathy. In stories, talking about how past struggles got people where they are now isn't dry like history homework, it's lore. It's like video game lore. People go crazy over it. Ironically, because art isn't considered a serious threat to the system, you'll find a wider offering of worldviews there than almost anywhere else. I think it's probably the single easiest place to speak from and for a marginalized point of view, to explore themes and develop language that gels with your experience. Art can go against the grain and present an alternate record of a certain place and time by exploring like the psyche of its citizens, what felt important to them, what was changing around them, what scared them. Revealing your world and all the factors shaping it can be a gift to the public well into the future. I've learned a lot from like queer zines and old Soviet movies that I didn't learn from reading history about those same people and times. Just internalizing that they were human too, with weaknesses and anxieties, makes me feel better. It makes me feel like liberation belongs to all of us. Art may not by itself emancipate anyone, but understanding where we came from is vital to building anything better. Without the past, we have no idea what we're capable of.
So, from what I gathered of that video, art not only imitates life, but it also expresses it. And with enough time, that expression can become its own definition of the experience. And I believe that touches upon what another person that inspires me here on YouTube, Punk Ruck. I believe she's a writer and just overall inspirational person. Here's an excerpt from her of a video on visibility of queerness.
I'm a gender fluid lesbian, and I don't really have a concern about how like other people see my gender fluidity or gender queerness, whether or not it's valuable, attractive, whatever, because I've took it into my own hands to deconstruct internalized queerphobia and internalized transphobia and recognize that like I don't want to hold those things against myself. I can just exist and be happy as who I am. And that is such a personal choice. I mean, I could be walking around here hating myself, and I could be walking around here internalizing other people's hatred. But do I give a fuck? No. I do not. And it feels so nice. It feels so nice to just actually comprehend that I live in my own world, my rules, my life, my last word. And a lot of that does seriously involve just not needing other people to validate things for me. I mean, why would I need that? Why would I need that? Why would I need that? I've already got my ish figured out. It's just as simple. Visibility creates opportunity, and you can be visible as who you are, and you can be visible as who you're not. But at the end of the day, how you're being visible, the ways in which I'm using my little pink flashlight, the ways in which you're visible is gonna determine the opportunities that you attract.
And so what I've gathered from that video is that to her, expression of queerness is not only important, but is essential to her own experience. And to not express said experience in an honest fashion would betray who she is as a person, for lack of honesty. To me, greed is the ultimate embodiment of dishonesty. To me, this is why there is such a sort of confusion around the ethics of the use of artificial intelligence, specifically generative AI. Because unfortunately, we do live in a society where the quantity almost always matters more than the quality. And so, the idea of quote unquote shortcuts that generative AI allows is not seen as a detriment, but rather a selling point. For the AI user is not looking for anything beyond immediate gratification of the end result. To me, this is the opposite of what art should be, especially as a minority. Again, I can only speak for myself, but personally, the use of a tool to sort of forego any failure would in of itself be a failure as an artist. Here is a video excerpt from the channel Make Art Not Content on the musician Prince and his work ethic.
A lot of times he would take the first take, even though there were maybe mistakes. You go, oh, I know I can do it better. Let me perfect it. He said, no, he wants the feeling. There was something about the first emotion that he wanted, and he'd mix into it. And you go, oh.
Prince knew that leaving the mistakes in was also leaving the emotions in.
He himself could not have functioned if he'd been obsessing over every little detail. His work was gesture sketches. His music would come out like a sneeze. It was just bam, 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 bam.
He understood that the most important aspect of the creative process is momentum.
So what I've gathered from that video is that Prince's perspective on his art was not one of just seeking out the post-produced, highly polished highlights that he could share with the world, but rather amassing a collection, a journey of complexity within his experience as an artist. The failures to him mattered just as much as the success. And to me, that's sort of like looking at a cliffside, looking at a cliff face and acknowledging that without the weather, without the waves, without the continual motion of time, the natural beauty that comes from all of this complexity would not exist. And so in that vein, the aspect of failure is not only an obstacle, but it is a tool in the continual process you experience as an artist. Here, I suppose, is a final video excerpt from CJ the X and how they express the need for failure within art and the need for the artist to sort of transcend the fear of failure.
You get into creating art because you have good taste and appreciate great art. But because you have good taste, you will be painfully aware that you are not outputting great art when you start to make it. Immediately, it's crushing how beneath your taste you're operating. But the only thing that will carry you towards creating what you love is suffering through your inadequacy. So instead of whining about how bad you are compared to the things you adore, create out of love for the process and medium. You're in service of the eternal. You don't have to feel like a genius. You are simply the conduit through which genius passes. Be honored for every scrap of it.
Ugh, CJ has so much good stuff to say. I could listen to them for hours. And I do. And so, to me, the idea of failure is inevitable. Just as is time passing. No matter what we do, time will pass us by. And these steps we take in our journey are always going to be inevitably taken. The only difference of the fear of failure and the process of failure is that sooner or later you will be able to look back at all of those steps you have taken, at the complexity that said efforts have created, and be able to really contemplate what you have become as a person, as an artist. And so to bring this all back, I, as a minority of a minority, I'm trans, autistic, and Hispanic. I don't know if I will ever actually attain success, but I believe that is completely besides the point of attaining happiness, of attaining contentment, and what I have actually put the effort in and been willing to be honest with within my life. And I have been sort of using that momentum in, I suppose, earnestness, if that's a word for it, to maintain my inspiration to create, even if my creations are never up to snuff, I suppose. I don't know what else to say. Thank you for watching. Bye.